Hello, everybody. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, Part 1, Chapter 33. Alexey Alexandrovitch returned from the ministry about 4 o'clock, but, as often happened, he found no time to speak to Anna. He went directly to his library to give audience to some petitioners who were waiting for him, and to sign some papers brought him by his chief secretary. The Karenins always had at least 3 visitors to dine with them, and today there came an old lady, a cousin of Alexey Alexandrovitch's, a department director with his wife, and a young man recommended to Alexey Alexandrovitch for employment. Anna came to the drawing-room to receive them. The great bronze clock of the time of Peter the Great had just finished striking 5 when Alexey Alexandrovitch, in white cravat and with 2 decorations on his dress coat, left his dressing-room. He had an engagement immediately after dinner. Every moment of Alexey Alexandrovitch's life was counted and occupied, and, in order to accomplish what he had to do every day, he was forced to use the strictest regularity and punctuality. Without haste and without rest was his motto. He entered the salon, bowed to his guests, and, giving his wife a smile, led the way to the table. "Da, my solitude is over. You don't realize how irksome." He had laid a special stress on the word Nilovko, irksome. "It is to dine alone." During the dinner he talked with his wife about matters in Moscow, and, with a mocking smile, inquired especially about Stepan Arkadyevitch, but the conversation remained for the most on common subjects, about Petersburg society and matters connected with the government. After dinner he spent a half-hour with his guests, and then, giving his wife another smile and pressing her hand, he left the room and went to the council. Anna did not go this evening to the Princess Betsy Tverskaya's, who, having heard of her arrival, had sent her an invitation, and she did not go to the theatre, where she just now had a box. She did not go out, principally because a dress which she had expected was not done. After the departure of her guests, Anna investigated her wardrobe, and was much disturbed to find that of the 3 dresses which, in a spirit of economy, she had given to the dressmaker to make over, and which ought to have been done 3 days ago, 2 were absolutely unfinished, and 1 was done in a way that Anna did not like. The dressmaker came with her excuses, declaring that it would be better so, and Anna reprimanded her so severely that afterwards she felt ashamed of herself. To calm her agitation, she went to the nursery and spent the evening with her son, put him to bed herself, made the sign of the cross over him, and tucked the quilt around him. She was glad that she had not gone out, and that she had spent such a happy evening. It was so quiet and restful, and now she saw clearly that all that had seemed so important during her railway journey was only one of the ordinary insignificant events of social life, and that she had nothing in the world of which to be ashamed. She sat down in front of the fireplace with her English novel and waited for her husband. At 9:30 exactly his ring was heard at the door, and he came into the room. "Here you are at last," she said, giving him her hand. He kissed her hand and sat down near her. "Your journey, I see, was on the whole very successful," said he. "Yes, very," she replied, and she began to relate all the details. Her journey with the old countess, her arrival, the accident at the station, the pity which she had felt, first for her brother and afterwards for Dolly. "I do not see how it is possible to pardon such a man, even though he is your brother," said Alexey Alexandrovitch severely. Anna smiled. She appreciated that he said this to show that not even kinship could bend him from the strictness of his honest judgment. She knew this trait in her husband's character and liked it. "I am glad," he continued, "that all ended so satisfactorily, and that you have come home again. What do you say there about the new measures that I introduced in the council?" Anna had heard nothing said about this new measure, and she was confused because she had so easily forgotten something which to him was so important. "Here, on the contrary, it has made a great sensation," said he with a self-satisfied smile. She saw that Alexey Alexandrovitch wanted to tell her something very flattering to himself about this affair, and by means of questions she led him up to the story, and he, with the same self-satisfied smile, began to tell her of the congratulations which he had received on account of his measure, which had been passed. I was very, very glad. This proves that at last reasonable and serious views about this question are beginning to be formed among us. After he had taken his second cup of tea with cream and bread, Alexey Alexandrovitch arose to go to his library. "But you did not go out. Was it very tiresome for you?" he said. "Oh, no," she replied, rising with her husband and going with him through the hall to the library. "What are you reading now?" she asked. "Just now I'm reading the Duc de Lille, Poésie des Enfers," he replied. "A very remarkable book." Anna smiled as one smiles at the weaknesses of those who love, and passing her arm through her husband's, accompanied him to the library door. She knew that this habit of reading in the evening had become inexorable, and that notwithstanding his absorbing duties, which took so much of his time at the council, he felt it his duty to follow all that seemed remarkable in the sphere of literature. She also knew that while he felt a special interest in works on political economy, philosophy, and religion, Alexey Alexandrovitch allowed no book on art which seemed to him to possess any value to escape his notice, and for the very reason that art was contrary to his nature. She knew that in the province of political economy, philosophy, religion, Alexey Alexandrovitch had doubts and tried to solve them, but in questions of art or poetry, particularly in music, the comprehension of which was utterly beyond him, he had the most precise and definite opinions. He loved to speak of Shakespeare, Raphael, and Beethoven, of the importance of the new school of musicians and poets, all of whom were classed by him according to the most rigorous logic. "God be with you," she said, as they reached the door of the library, where were standing, as usual, near her husband's armchair, the shade lamp already lighted and a carafe with water. "And I am going to write to Moscow." Again he pressed her hand and kissed it. "Taken all in all, he is a good man, upright, excellent, remarkable in his sphere," said Anna to herself on her way to her room, as though she felt it necessary to defend him from someone who accused him of not being lovable. "But why do his ears stick out so? Or does he cut his hair too short?" It was just midnight, and Anna was still sitting at her writing table, finishing a letter to Dolly, when Alexey Alexandrovitch's steps were heard. He wore his slippers and dressing gown. He had had his bath, and his hair was brushed. His book was under his arm. He stopped at his wife's room. "Late, late," said he with his usual smile, and passed on to their sleeping-room. And what right had he to look at him so, thought Anna, recalling Vronsky's expression when he saw Alexey Alexandrovitch. Having undressed, she went to her room, but in her face there was none of that animation which shone in her eyes and in her smile at Moscow. On the contrary, the fire had either died away or was somewhere far away and out of sight.